Yeah, so Aaron Shepard, really excited to read your bio actually. Love your lifelong love of sector, the space sector, all the way from the shuttle days. Your academic career as well, from biochemistry to medicine before electrical engineering. Real Renaissance man here. Two-time South Carolina Space Grant Fellow, three-time intern at NASA Langley. Yeah, not unimpressive. I'll say that. And it seems like you've got some pretty major research experience in aeronautics, biomimetic robotics, which is two words that I don't understand put together, as well as space robotics. And it looks like you're the founder of Cogito, so creating neurofeedback technology to help combat the ADHD epidemic, which, I mean, you've got a huge variety of interests and skills, clearly. But you're here today to talk to us about your work in the aerospace and science outreach communities, especially on TikTok and that kind of short form videos.
Yes. So yes, thank you so much for the intro, Charlie. Like Charlie said, my name's Aaron. I have a variety of interests, but they all center around science, space exploration, and outreach. I realize that I'm on a very short timeline, so I'm going to keep this moving, and I'm going to do it TikTok style too. So if it will let me go, yes. All right. So a little bit about me, like it said earlier, my name's Aaron Shepard. I'm a robotics engineer by trade, and then I'm also a NASA Research and STEM Outreach Fellow. And in addition to that, I am a science communicator. So I love talking about the importance of science, technology, space flight, and how it can apply to our everyday lives. So as I go on with this talk, just a warning, some of the tips that I tell you you may have heard, they're very common, but the difficulty in growing and establishing a social media following isn't necessarily the knowledge, it's the execution of said knowledge. Like, we all know what to do, but the process of doing it just takes time and energy and effort. And for a lot of people, that's difficult. So I'm gonna give you some tips that I think will help make your social media journey easier. So tip one, know where you are, in particular with TikTok. So if you're like me, I'm actually starting to migrate over from Instagram to TikTok. And in that process, I had to learn that I'm dealing with two very different social media apps. With Instagram, it is primarily pictures with some video features, whereas with TikTok, you are working with video only. Instagram, you are focused on aesthetically pleasing content. So you want good lighting, good backdrops. You want everything to just look crisp and like it was shot in a studio. Whereas TikTok, the value actually comes in with real, raw, and authentic content. And that's one thing that TikTok users push and pride, and they constantly talk about how it is so authentic, and that's why they love it. Also with Instagram, you don't have as many restrictions when it comes to length. Your posts can be long, your videos can be long, that's fine. But with TikTok, you have 1 minute per post, and that makes it really, really challenging. So as you're creating content, you have to be aware of the space that you're operating in and design your content to match the app that you're working for. So tip number two, and also I'm a big fan of pop culture. In particular, I grew up in the 90s, so I like to reference The Simpsons a lot, but you have to get with the trends. TikTok as a video sharing app is fueled by Gen Z and a global pandemic, which means attention spans are short and you don't have much time. Things happen and things change really fast. One thing that I'm starting to notice with TikTok is the fact that ads that are coming out now are referencing trends that were popular maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and it just feels totally out of place. And so they took too long to get onto the trend, and you cannot make that mistake. One thing that I recommend is that you seek ways to mix current trends, music, etc., into your science and your space content, but make sure that you're being authentic in that approach. Like, don't be that old person who's trying to like look cool for the kids. Like, find a way to authentically mix those things that are trending into your content. For example, I did a video recently with a dancing spider robot where I had it dancing to like a Cardi B song that was really popular, and that got a lot of good feedback. It fit my niche, it fit what I do, but then it also was trendy and it caught the attention of new viewers and users. So tip number 3 is to tell a story. Although many things change, humans fundamentally have not. We are all about stories. With science content in particular, you want to show a problem that you're working on, share a funny thing that happened while you were working on it, show how something is created, discovered, made, etc. Like, really spark that human curiosity and then create the story that can supplement that curiosity. One thing, as you are making your post, you have to make them clear, concise, and understandable to the everyday person. As a scientist, there are things that are intuitive to you. However, most of the people on TikTok are not scientists. And so you have to curate your content to make sure that they can get it too. Remember, you only get 1 minute per post. And so with that, you have to pick the highs of everything. I just did a video where I was designing a robot, and I had to cut a lot of content and say, okay, what is important to the story and what are just extra details. And then last but not least, if you need more time to go over details or to further explain something, just create a video series. So make it a series of 5 videos and keep it going that way. So that way you can get the information across, but you can still meet the time constraints presented by the app. Okay, tip number 4, this is a big one. Script your videos. You want to write down a rough idea of what you're planning to say in your videos. Me personally, I have a Google Doc called TikTok scripts, where I actually store my scripts, and then I also store ideas for videos or songs that I really like that I want to use later. If you take the time to write the script up front, it will actually speed up your creation process, and it will help with the next tip. Tip number 5 is to caption your videos. Many users will look at TikTok with their volume either really low or off, and so having the captions allows them to see what your content is about without actually having to hear it. Another thing too is that if you caption your videos, it shows that you are supporting the deaf and hard of hearing community, which is very good too, especially in 2021 when it is all about diversity and inclusion. And then last but not least, this is what statistics say. Videos with captions will statistically perform better than videos without. I'm finding that to be true with myself. And so again, if you have that script already written, you can literally just chop it and put it in your video, and there's that. There are also captioning apps that you can add on that will listen to your video and auto-generate captions. So you have options, but always try to make the captions if you can. Tip number 6, and this is big for us as scientists, add a scientific perspective to popular videos, ideas, or pop culture in general. Like I said earlier, most TikTokers are not scientists, but many of them still want to learn. And you can add your perspective as a scientist to the things that they see and like in their everyday lives, such as the MCU, whatever's trending, what you see in Disney, etc. My first video that I had go viral was actually, I looked at a scene in Infinity War, and I realized that, hey, that's actually a Dyson sphere, which is this concept from science fiction and like a theoretical space structure. And I explained it. That video got like 40,000 views. And it was because I mixed something popular like the MCU with actual science, and I created content of value. Another big thing, so my second video that I had go viral is debunking trending conspiracy theories, especially in your field of interest. So there was one person in particular, I think as the Mars rover landed, they said, well, why do we need to go to Mars? Like, that's just a waste of money. Why don't we explore the ocean? And I was like, oh, hey, I'm a scientist and a scuba diver. I can tell you exactly why we do that and why it's harder to explore the ocean. Also, so one thing when you do that is I like to come in and say like, hey, there was one, if somebody says like, hey, the earth is flat and it's a really popular video, you can come in and say, I'm a scientist, here's why the earth is not flat. And that will actually help, that'll help educate your audience, but B, because it's already a popular video, you will ride that wave too. Tip number 7, volume. So social media favors high energy people, and that's because loud and flashy naturally grabs our attention. One thing I highly recommend is that you use some kind of microphone as you're recording your audio. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be like a mic like this that comes with your phone, but definitely record with a microphone. And if you're like me and you're soft-spoken, then you can actually bump up your volume in either the TikTok app or whatever video editing app that you use, your video editing app of choice, and that will help you kind of overcome that deficit. You can't help the fact that you're soft-spoken, but you can do things to help enhance yourself and make your content stick out. Tip number 8, post frequently. When you're growing a TikTok audience, you just have to post a lot to catch on to the algorithm. That is what it is. The ideal amount is somewhere between 2 to 5 times a day. I'm still experimenting with that, but that's the number that I keep hearing. I know it can be hard to generate content, but one thing I'd like to say is don't be afraid to post filler content in between your main content. In that case, so if I'm building a robot for my main content, it takes a while to build and then record. You can also take the time to talk about like the parts that you used, the process that you go through, extra, things that you select, problems that you've encountered, or you can just talk about things, other ideas or concepts that interest you. But whatever it is, you have to post frequently. And in doing so, like it was mentioned earlier, in space flight, people that like space, we are highly experimental by nature, or we are risk takers. So go ahead and experiment with the type of content that you post, see what catches. I had no idea that MCU post would do so well, but now I know in the future to curate my content more towards the MCU and showing how the science and the fiction actually go together. Tip number 9, understand what the algorithm wants. So TikTok wants users to engage with the app. So what that means is that you should utilize certain features such as Stitch, Duet, Green Screen, all those things that are available to them, use them in your content. That will actually help it perform better. And another thing too, TikTok wants you to engage. It doesn't want vanity metrics. It wants engagement. It wants human connection. And so with that case, like comment on other people's videos and then reply to anybody that comments to yours. That engagement will help push your video through the algorithm and hopefully to the For You page. And then finally, don't be discouraged by inconsistencies in your view numbers. TikTok will actually purposely put your video on the For You page and let it go viral, and then it won't do it for your next 10 videos, and it's just to get you to keep contributing content to the app. So that's the game. You have to deal with it. And then tip number 10, with 6 seconds left, have fun. At the end of the day, TikTok is about having fun. It's about being authentic. It's about being yourself. And hopefully it's about teaching others. So with that being said, that is the end of my 10-minute presentation. Thanks for listening. And if you guys want, you can go ahead and add me on TikTok. There is my QR code sitting in the left. So if you have questions, we have time, I'm happy to answer them for you.
A round of applause. Absolutely nailed it on the timing, Aaron. Fantastic. Thank you very much. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll collate them. But we've got quite a small room, so if anyone else wants to just open up and ask a question, just let me know. One question I have, and I love what you said around things change and that it changes. The cool kids used to have it, the Simpsons piece, because about a year ago, I heard about TikTok and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to download that. That's for Gen Zers. And then I was like, just bite the bullet and do it, man, and get over it. I think it's quite an uncomfortable piece. One of the things that I noticed about TikTok is a lot of it's music-based, right? Because of where it started with ByteDance and everything. How much do you incorporate that into videos, or do you try and steer away from that? How does that work from a SciComm and SpaceComm perspective?
Oh, I totally try to incorporate it, partially because I like music and I like, and it adds an additional dimension to yourself and to your content. For example, if I'm doing a video, I will look at the songs that are trending on TikTok and I will try to throw it into the video just because the algorithm will bump it up. But then again, it shows that, hey, I'm not just a scientist, I'm a person. I listen to Cardi B, I like Megan Thee Stallion, all that stuff. So yeah, I think it helps again, because with TikTok, the goal is to be multidimensional. Like with Instagram, I felt like a lot of us had to put ourselves into one role. And what makes TikTok so successful is that it allows us to actually expand. And it's like, well, hey, I'm not just a scientist. I'm not just a scientist in the space stuff. I really like the MCU. I also like hip hop. I love millennial things. So yeah, I definitely would incorporate that. I would actually embrace it instead of steer clear away from it.
Great. Kate, I think you've got a question.
So a lot of people know me as Space Kate, but my other handle is Radio Kate because I started out doing radio stuff. So I'm very much a behind the scenes kind of person. You don't get to see me. Like, do you have any tips for people who, like me, who might be a bit nervous of being on video? Like, how do you get over that sort of fear of putting yourself out there?
So to get over, honestly, it's one of those things that you just become more comfortable as you do it. But keep in mind, like, you can help yourself along the way. In case you can't tell, I'm actually really nervous when I speak in crowds. And so when I'm doing TikToks, I'll sit there and be like, oh my God, what am I saying? And that's why I do things like I script my videos, I plan them out in advance, and I have a clear defined process that I can follow. Also, a lot of times I don't like seeing myself on camera. So some videos I will just shoot from a first person view, especially if I'm doing like a robot build or something, and then I'll just voice over it. And that kind of helps quell that fear.
Thanks.
We have 50 seconds left. Does anyone got any more questions, or do you want to jump out and head back to the main room?
I guess we should probably jump out, but I want to say thank you. That was really, really interesting.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. This was so much fun.
No, really appreciate it, Aaron. Thanks, guys. I'll see you back in the main room.